welcome back. This is officially part 3 for this project, and we're going to show how to slip and score and attach your coils today. So if you take your project out of your bag and you followed along in the first 2 videos, or maybe you followed along in class, but you missed this demo, no worries. This is what this video is here for, is to get you all caught up on your own. So I showed you guys how to cut out your base from rolling a slab. And then I showed you guys how to roll coils, and then I asked you to stack them in the shape that you want them, so that way if they dried out a little bit, they don't resist being bent and losing the shape they have. So today we're going to start to attach these to our pot or our base, so that way we can make a pot. So you're gonna need a little bit of everything out. You're gonna need your scrap clay bag out. You're for sure gonna need your slip out, because remember, we gotta have our clay glue. And then you're gonna need your toolkit out as normal. So please get out your wooden skewer, our makeshift pin tool. You're gonna need some water, so just go and get any cup you have or any bowl that you're using for this class. Just get some water in it. You always need water. Put your sponge in it. And then you'll also need your bent out paper clip. So that's this one, the one we pulled apart. And then you're also gonna need your makeshift loop tool. So that's a paper clip that has the popsicle stick on it. We're gonna also use that today. Okay, so gently take off your pieces, your coils. These have not been attached, therefore they will not stay on. Okay, so I'm just gonna gently set these aside. And I'm gonna start off with this first coil. All right, so this is my base right here, and I am going to fit this coil to the base. So I'm gonna shape it, get it put on there where I want it, and then I'm gonna overlap it. So I made it mimic the shape of the base by following it around. And then you see right there where it overlaps, that's a very important part for this. So right here where it overlaps together. All right, so what you're going to do, because we need to cut these and slip and score them together to make them one solid piece, is you're going to cut them at an angle. So I like to use my paper clip for this, our makeshift pin tool. And what you're gonna do is cut at an angle. So I don't mean just cut straight up and down, I mean cut from here and pull over this way. So I'm gonna do it down here, and then I'm gonna show it to you guys, just because it's a little bit harder to do backwards. All right, so hopefully, let me scoot up a little. You can see that that line goes from here and then diagonal over. It does not just go straight up and down. So please try to cut at an angle. It gives you more to connect to. If you just cut up and down, I mean, I'm sure we can still make it work. I just always recommend cutting at an angle when attaching things like this. And then now you can take off this part here, that is now scrap clay, and this bottom part here, that is now scrap clay, okay? But now we're gonna have this nice little beveled edge to attach together, all right? So let's do our first thing, which is gonna be to slip and score them together, because remember, we have to score and slip everything that it gets attached in ceramics. So you guys all had to slip and score for your first project, so I'm hoping that you remember this. But scoring is where we're just gonna rough up the clay with lines that intersect, okay? So I'm gonna draw lines one way. You guys can see that. I drew them one way, and now I'm going to draw them the other way. Just make your lines intersect, so you're roughing up the clay a little bit. And then I'm gonna do the exact same thing here. These are pretty small surfaces, so it's not gonna be a lot of scoring. And then get your slip out, open the container up, and then kind of stir it up a little bit, just to make sure that you have a good consistency with your paintbrush. And then I'm gonna dab a little bit on to one end. Oops. And then I'm just going to attach these 2 ends together. All right, so you're just putting them together, and you're going to gently push them together and seal them. It's a little hard to do in the air, so I'm sorry, I'm gonna do it down here. And then you're going to blend that area out. You can either use your finger if you don't really like the way it feels, You can use your sponge instead. They do the same thing. So you're just trying to blend this together so you can't tell where you attach those two pieces together. And I just like to use my fingers to blend, but your sponge will do the same job. And now you have a coil that has been attached together to make a ring, which is going to be the first part of our coil pot. All right, so we attach this together. Now we need to attach this to our base. And to do that, we're gonna go through the same steps. We're just gonna slip and score. I like to use my wooden skewer to score. You can use your paper clip. You can also use your fork because it has 4 prongs instead of 1. It might go a little quicker. But I just like to use this because I was taught to use a pin tool, and this is the closest thing we have in our at-home toolkits to a pin tool. So you're just gonna go one direction all the way around. All right, so I have my marks and they go all the way around in one direction. Now I need my lines to intersect, so I'm gonna pull them the other way. So intersecting lines for slipping and scoring, or just scoring. So all my lines intersect now, which is exactly what I wanted. And now you need to choose which one is the top and which one is the bottom. Either way, it's gonna get covered up because we're building up, so it doesn't really matter to me. But if you have a preference, then go for it. And now I'm gonna score the bottom of my coil because they both need to be scored, not just one side. Both sides need to be scored together in order to attach them successfully. So again, my lines all go one way, and now I'm going to intersect them. And now I have a rough edge and a rough edge to attach. So I have it here and I have it here. What we're gonna do is put these together. They're gonna go rough side to rough side with some slip, and then that's how they're going to attach, okay? But it's very important that you score this side and this side. You score both parts that are being attached. All right, so now I'm gonna get some slip because we can't slip and score without slip, and I'm gonna dab it all over the base. Make sure you're dabbing the slip, even though it's a paintbrush. I know it's kind of like what you're used to just kind of pull down because it's a paintbrush, but what I'm doing is putting it on and dabbing it so that way I don't accidentally get rid of any of these score marks that I have, because that's the important part that is going to attach them together. Make sure that you're just hydrating your slip every time you use it. And you only need to put slip on one side. You don't need to do it to both. You need to score both, but you don't need to put slip on both. And now I'm going to attach this part to it. So you're going to put it on the base, and I'm shaping it first. I'm not gonna attach it together yet. I'm just gonna get it the shape that I want. So what I mean is I gently put it on top, and now I'm just kind of manipulating it to fit exactly how I want it to. And then when you have it in the right spot and it looks good, you're just going to push down on the coil. You're gonna go all the way around and push down on it. That pressure is super important. That's gonna make sure that there's no air bubbles in there. The pressure is kind of releasing all of that, and you want to see the slip ooze out of the sides. That's usually what I do to check it. Okay, if there's any spots that I don't see any slip, then I'm gonna go back over and maybe push a little bit over there to make sure that it gets sealed. And what I mean by that is this, you can see the slip oozing out right here, and then you can also see it oozing out of this side here. All right, and then once we have that, I am going to smooth these areas together, and that I'm gonna use my little makeshift loop tool. So we're not gonna use the paper clip side. We're gonna use the popsicle stick side. So make sure you're using the side that doesn't have anything on it. And I'm just gonna pick this up and I'm gonna start to move the clay to cover up that crack right there. I'm just kind of pulling clay over these cracks just to make it a seamless transition from the base to the coil. So this is gonna take a little while as I move through the whole surface. But we're smoothing out our coils for this project. We're not keeping the coils on there. Make sure that you slip and score every single coil that's going to be attached to this, because we're just going to be repeating this process over and over again. All right, so I gently moved the clay all the way around on the outside. So hopefully you can see the difference in that now. You don't see the crack at all. I'm gonna get rid of this slip that's on the end of this. And I'm gonna work on the inside now. So I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm just gonna kind of take the clay here and pull it over the crack, just to try and seal that crack shut, so that way we can't tell. I like to smooth as I go for this type of project, just because it's pretty narrow, and as we build up, it's gonna be harder and harder to stick our hand and our tools in there to try and blend. So if we blend now while we can reach in here, we'll be good to go. So we don't have to push it all the way until the end. You can definitely get by with a couple days of not blending and then just kind of blend in large chunks, or if you just don't have enough time today to blend, no worries. You just need to make sure that you're blending your coils out for this project. Part of what we're doing. All right, so the inside is now at least manipulated enough where you can't see the crack, because I pulled all that clay up over it and over here as well. All right, so now, of course, it looks a little funky because we moved all that clay. So what we're gonna do is just take our sponge and we're just gonna start smoothing. You might have some cracks on your coils too. This is gonna get rid of all those cracks and everything like that. So just take your sponge and just practice smoothing. So the inside was pretty easy, but now I'm gonna go to the outside and work on smoothing out that area. Again, rotating and smoothing. And now we have the start of a very shallow little pot. That's how you attach your first coil onto it. Okay, so if you can get this first coil attached, it's gonna be pretty easy for you from here on out, because we're just repeating the same thing over and over again. And what I mean by that is, you're gonna roll out a coil, you're gonna take the coil, measure it to your pot, cut it at an angle again, and attach those two pieces together to make a round coil. And then you're gonna slip and score the bottom of that coil to the top of that coil. Blend it together, smooth it out. We're just repeating that process over and over again, and then eventually we're gonna keep building up and we'll be able to have our pot done, okay? So please let me know if you have any questions. I'm gonna do another video of just how to keep our coils rolled and how to keep building up as we do that.